Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today's episode, we're talking about credit unions in another 101 style video. Because again, when it comes to bonus hunting, I don't discriminate. We hit full-size banks, regional banks, brokerage accounts, and even credit unions. When it comes to credit unions and even smaller banks, there's definitely some things you need to be aware of so you can still make their money become your money while avoiding those pitfalls. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, again, I'm titling this Credit Unions most likely, unless I change the name of the title after the fact, but this could really be called credit unions or even some small regional banks that we're going to talk about. So, the first thing to understand is, with credit unions specifically, they are really set up in a different way than banks. Like a Citi, US Bank, Chase, they're on a national scale. They don't really care who joins. Credit unions by design are usually local, so county level, maybe state level, tri-state, something like that, but usually county level, which means just getting access and being eligible to them can be a little bit difficult. So first thing is to become a member, you'll have to have a membership share account, which really means you leave about $5 on deposit with the credit union at all times in this membership shares account. That's how you become a member of the credit union. It's really silly, but that's generally a requirement of it. So if you're opening a bonus account for a checking account, usually more often than not, you'll be required to open a membership shares account as well. Other part here again was joining their specific causes. You can be part of a specific charity, again a specific community. I've even seen some religion-based ones. All the stuff that you would think is normally discriminatory, credit unions basically get away with doing. So that's why again you don't see a ton of credit union bonuses on the channel, because they're going to be very local. It's not worth making a video about. However, we do some they come up to the national level. But again, the idea of the 101 playlist is that you can go through and learn and hunt your own bonuses if you so choose. And for that reason, credit unions are, a great source. So with that, what are the things you need to know? Well, in no particular order, now we've covered membership, I will say there are sometimes ways to spoof membership, right? There's a lot of credit unions, like an Affinity Federal Credit Union that, will say, hey, we're regional, but if you make a $5 donation to our specific charity, we'll let you in, $10 donation, whatever it may be. Those are pretty good, and then I'll make a video about it like I did like Affinity. So, I would look for ways in like that, especially if you're not local. Those are always pretty easy to do, but again, that's going to be the main thing. I think a lot of us here probably have memberships to like American Consumer Council Association or something. That's usually a classic one, how you get in. But overall, that's getting in. Now, once you're in or going through the application process, again, credit unions, number one, in my experience, they're usually very Chex sensitive, and I have a full video on Chex systems down below. I can link for you, but again, Chex systems basically is almost like your credit report for bank accounts. It tracks how many accounts you've opened and closed, have you left negative balances, things like that. More often than not, a credit union is going to run Chex systems, and they're going to be super sensitive. Again, Citibank also runs Chex systems, because when I check my Chex report, say that a few times fast, I can see Citibank look, but Citibank looks for derogatory marks, right? As whereas credit unions are looking for things like, well, you open a lot of accounts, that's scary to us, we don't want anything to do with you, because again, they're really looking for, legitimate members, not so much like a Citi who just wants your money. The Citi understands the game, right? Now, to that point, if you're ever opening a bank account, you always ask, wonder if they're going to pull credit. Large banks, the answer is no. Although the terms and conditions are always written that a bank reserves the right to pull credit information. Now, normally what that means is that they're going to do a soft pull, which means that you're going to get like those challenge questions if you're applying online. So it'd be like, hey, you applied for a mortgage in 2020. What was your mortgage lender, right? You'll pick one. That's a soft pull. Credit unions, however, they don't always do it, but they are the ones who would end up pulling credit because, again, they're very sensitive or risk adverse, however you want to put it, but credit unions will pull credit on occasion. Now, it's very hard to know this because, again, the terms and conditions are always vague, right? It says we reserve the right to, so the best way to tell is data points. Ask people who've signed up. I've applied for some. You'll see a lot of posts like, hey, we found a new credit union bonus, but no one knows if they pull credit or not. So sometimes you'll just have to be the data point you want to see. This happened to me with a few local credit unions. I'm more comfortable with a hard pull than some people. So again, if you're hard pull sensitive, you might want to wait and have someone else like me test it out. Or see if you can honestly even call them and ask, I suppose. They might be able to tell you that. But again, if you're going to get credit pulled, it's probably going to be from a credit union. Now, in addition to that, I think, what was it? When I was signing up, I can't remember, the Honor Credit Union, that's who it was, Honor Credit Union. They actually had a requirement of, hey, we have to meet you in person, but it was during lockdown, so I actually had to do a video call with the credit union to get the account open, which was very odd because when I got on the video call, they're like, okay, hey, how you doing? That was it. Like, they didn't have anything to say. There was no agenda. As a person who spent many years as a project manager, to have a meeting with no agenda and action items and stuff is very weird to me. But you don't have to do that at Citi or any place like that. The worst ones you have to do with those kind of banks is sometimes you have to apply in branch. But again, to meet you, it's kind of weird. But again, they're trying to do the community focus thing. So that was odd too. I haven't had that one come up before. But again, the smallness of the bank does come into play some more here, because if you have issues, like sometimes I think it was like GTE Financial, it's a credit union that was in Florida, but they were nationwide at one point. They didn't pay for whatever reason, so I'm talking to them, trying to get it sorted out. And they're all nice people, don't get me wrong, they're nice people, but they're like, okay, well, I got to get a hold of the promotions department. Well, the promotions department's in a meeting right now, so I'll just have to call you back, because the promotions department's probably 2 or 3 dudes, right? It's not like Citi or U.S. Bank with like tons of resources and tons of people. Again, it's community-based. I mean, they're small, only a few branches. And I personally find that annoying when I'm trying to get stuff done, that hey, it's like if you've ever gone down to your local county office, right? There's a handful of people there. Sometimes they're at lunch and you have to come back, and that's really annoying, right? It's not like dealing with regular customer service. So I don't care for that. Again, I deal with it because I want their money, but that's something else to be aware of. Now, to that point, again, I'd also say that dealing with their interface is also kind of annoying sometimes. I think credit unions, they tend to buy off-the-shelf platforms, which is not too bad at all, the ones I've used to get the job done, versus ones who are very antiquated technology and very old school, so much so that I've actually had to call in and ask for what my account and routing number was, so I could set up my direct deposits and everything, which is kind of unheard of in this day and age, and you'd think they'd want to do better, but apparently it works. Again, I think they want you to come in. Now, one more thing to add here on the systems, the old school antiquated systems, is e-statements. Now, a lot of banks, newer banks, will almost push you into signing up for e-statements, which most of us want anyways. It'll almost be a step in the sign-up process. Credit unions and even smaller banks, in my experience, won't always prompt you to sign up for e-statements, and as a result, you may end up getting charged for a statement, a paper statement showing up. I did First Merchants Bank, which isn't a credit union, but they're a smaller regional bank, and I actually got charged like $5 for a paper statement, which can really, really hurt you if it's a bonus where you need to leave a certain amount of money on deposit for X amount of time. Because again, they pull that $5, you don't realize it, then you've dropped under the threshold, right? So I would say always make it a point to go in and turn on e-statements yourself. Usually it'll be a requirement of the bonus, but again, most banks just kind of make it a screen that you have to, acknowledge or opt you in by default and just tell you they opted you in and you can opt out. Smaller regional banks, not so much. So definitely something to be aware of there. To that point, closing the accounts can also be an issue. Closing the accounts, I've had some say, hey, you have to send us in, print out, like literally write a letter, sign it, and send it to us because you didn't want to go in branch and do it. I've had some ask for like a notarized letter. Some have said you have to come in branch and do it. Things like that you don't generally experience. Like the worst you're going to get with Citi or U.S. Bank is you have to call in, right? Now, again, credit unions, they think they're getting people who are in their local county and community, so coming in shouldn't be that big of a deal, but for us, a lot of times it is, because you're like, yeah, I'm eligible in Michigan, but you're all the way on the other side of the state or something like that. So it's not always convenient to shut them down as well, and you do have to if you want that $5 back. So it can kind of depend on how much effort you want to go through to get that. So overall, I'd say I'd close on this. I think this is more so an awareness video that if you go into dealing with a credit union, just understand what you're getting into. I look at it and I'm kind of always like, this is probably going to be a headache, but I want every bonus that I can get, so I still go after them personally. I don't necessarily let them deter me. And overall, you're talking about maybe like 5 or 6 credit unions come up a year in my bonus hunting journey, locally that I can get, not counting like the national ones that are set up pretty well. Like I would say Affinity Federal, again, is a pretty good one, but again, they operate they let you in on a national level, so I would expect more from them. So, I still think it's worth it. Just understand, that the headache that you could potentially be incurring. But again, I think it's worth it. So, of course, let me know your experiences down below with credit unions. And if you've had any other weird, interesting stories other than these examples that I pulled together from my experience, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. So, of course, if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, of course, consider subscribing to the channel because we're posting content just like this every week on how to make banks' money become your money. Again, question for you. Sound off down below. Let me know what your thoughts on our credit unions and those small banks. Do you avoid them? Do you not avoid them? Is it worth the headache? Am I crazy? Love to get your thoughts on that. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching, and talk to you very soon in the next one.